Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just thought to do a quick video on this. There's a part that I'm going to first go through some of the reactions to the Springbok trick plays this week, and then we'll get to Rassie's reaction to them. And interesting reaction from him, and one I really very much support. So just to go back down, obviously Springboks won 45-0 against Italy, but there was a lot of the talk was not around the game, it was around the trick plays that the Springboks used. The first one being the kickoff, where Andre Estesen ran in front of Mani de Bok to be in front of the ball to force the scrum. And there's a reason for that, as we'll get into. And then the other one was the two line-out plays in the middle of the field that the Boks set up, which led to tries, which have been heavily debated across the rugby world and in some quarters condemned, where they've said World Rugby will outlaw it. Now, just for a bit of background, this is quite a big talking point at the moment, and I think it is something that's worth talking about a lot more. The Springboks have been innovated in the past and have pushed the boundaries, and innovations always should be a good thing. It should be something that tests us, and it should be something that we look at, and certainly if it brings more eyeballs to the game, why not? Now, Rassie's been quite open that saying those moves probably won't be used again. This week I had a couple of videos on them. One of them, which I thought, if you haven't already please go watch, is the one I had with Tapa Henning yesterday. I had a long chat to him about, he's of course the URC's head of referees, and had a long chat to him about just whether it's legal or not, and how referees look at these things. So that was quite an interesting chat. It's on the channel. Yeah, you can always go have a look at it. And the other one was this morning. Rassie admitted that they got the line-out move from a Paul Roos under 19B game. And I went and spoke to the two coaches who designed that move from Paul Roos, and it was great to give them some credit and chat to them. It was a lovely chat. So if you got the chance, go watch that as well. But saying that, there has been quite a bit of mixed reaction across the world to Rassie's trick plays, or the trick plays that the Boks employed. And so much so that it elicited the response from Rassie yesterday as well at the team press conference. Let's first go through some of the responses. The first one will be from Scott Robertson. He was asked by New Zealand reporters at his stand-up media thing just what he thought of Rassie's moves, and it was clear from the outset that a bunch of my Kiwi colleagues were trying to get him to say something, and he wasn't biting. Now, just from my point of view, I don't think Scott Robertson worries too much about that move. They will be ready for it if it does come, but I think they're much more worried about the other things that the Boks are getting up to, and the other moves that Tony Brown's trying to teach the Bok backline. So I think there's a lot more that they think about there than just this move, but it keeps people talking, and it was clear the New Zealanders wanted to talk about it. Scott Robertson reacting to that.
Did you see what the Springboks got up to yesterday?
What was that?
Deliberately conceding a scrum at kickoff.
Yep. Done in my time in France, actually, in Perpignan. We had a hell of a scrum. Kicked it out the full, and just the full pack was standing behind the kicker. So it's not new, but it shows the intentions, doesn't it? That's a great thing about rugby. It can be innovative. You can use your strengths and surprise people.
Is there a place for that in the game? You think it's not pushing the boundaries too much?
Do you want to change the rules, do you?
Oh, possibly. I don't think it's up to me. They might listen to you, though.
Look, we're talking about it. It's a good thing.
The same with the line-out players in the middle of the field. Is that something you had a view on?
Oh, look, it's pretty unique, isn't it? And again, we're talking about it. It's great for our game. That's the point of difference from every other probably sport. People have got an opinion on it. World Rugby will look at it and play on, or do you adapt and change? But it's pretty innovative.
Isn't there a law though that says that you must not deliberately break a law? And that would result in a penalty. 9.7, I think, is the law that's been quoted around.
Okay, so
Wouldn't that be classed as deliberately breaking a law of the game?
So you want me to discuss a law that could be broken, that is a law, but you're not sure?
No. They deliberately stepped in front into an offside position, caught the ball. That's deliberately breaking a law, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to ring World Rugby. Because the way you even explained it, or was it? we have laws, not rules. Rules pretty clear and yes or no, and it's one of those ones for interpretation. So we'll see what the interpretation comes out like.
Just in your time in Perpignan,
We've seen a lot of people on social media saying it should be outlawed. We've seen Nigel Owen saying it's not illegal. In his some Twitter replies that he's put it that because the line-out jumper can't be tackled, that it would be illegal. Let's have a look at those two line-out moves again, and then we'll move straight on to another very well-known two friends of mine in New Zealand, Tony Johnson, the commentator, and Martin Devlin, radio talk show host, who have a pod. Very, very seasoned broadcasters, both of them, and they discussed it, and I thought it was probably one of the fairer discussions of the entire situation.
Soos 'n kanon in die middelveld. En dan 'n ortodokse beweging, Roan Orke. Hy het sy eie lyn staan hier in die middel van die 22. Grant Williams, Cannon Moody. Cannon Moody, pragtig, sit hy hom neer. Cannon Moody, die seun van die Parel, Boland se trots. Moody die Parel van die Parel. Maar wat 'n beweging, weer eens innovasie deur die bokke, maar Moody, kyk hoe sterk is die man. Hy stamp my man af. En dan gaan hy oor, maar alles begin deur die voorspelers. Die bokke is in goeie hande, Suid-Afrika. En Cannon Moody.
So firstly, the start of the game, and you got to love the way let's rattle the tree, let's shake the tree, let's rattle the cage. Let's just see what happens if we do this. We're going to say we want to, as Richard Lowe always used to talk about it back in the early days when the South Africans came back, and they would say, Richard, I'm going to scrum you. And they loved the scrum back then. And that was a way of imposing yourself on the game as early as possible. And they decided, right, we're going to send a signal out. We're going to blow you off the park at scrum time. And so we're going to have a scrum in the first 30 seconds of this game. Only problem was it was quite clearly premeditated.
Yeah.
And the referee missed it completely. That's a deliberate infringement. And the law book says that if you deliberately knock the ball on, or deliberately throw the ball into touch, or deliberately palm it deep or dead, or anything like that, a deliberate infringement is actually a penalty offence. Right. The guy was in front of the kicker too when he kicked it again. So Andrew Brace just completely missed that.
So there should have been a penalty.
He was completely bamboozled by what they'd done, and he gave them exactly what they wanted. The ironic thing is that from the scrum, the Italians got a free kick.
Right.
But it should have been a penalty. I don't think we'll see that one tried again because you have to make an honest attempt to kick the ball 10 metres. You can't kick the ball out on the full either deliberately if time's up on the clock, that sort of thing. So a deliberate infringement technically should have been a penalty. But hey, they tried it.
They tried it. They got away with it that time. All right.
Just, as I say, shaking the tree. The other one I think's far more difficult. And I saw a comment by Nigel Owens about this because he's very quick to make comment on some of the controversial things that happen, which I think is great.
Yeah, it's great.
From one of the best guys who ever refereed the game, his take on it. And I think the one where they throw the ball, pass the ball to a guy being lifted in the air, this one's going to be far
That can't be legal.
more. Well,
It can't be legal.
there's nothing obviously illegal about
But
it.
Tony, who are you meant to tackle? I mean, you can't tackle the guys that are lifting him because they don't have the
but
ball.
that doesn't make it illegal. So,
But it's dangerous as well.
No, it's not dangerous.
Well, it is because
it's only dangerous if someone challenges him illegally, and then they get done for dangerous play.
But
So,
if he's been lifted, can't you challenge him in the air?
well, they get lifted in the line. Well, that's the thing. This is where it's so difficult, and you wonder if it becomes a thing because they got pay out of it both times.
Yeah, they got a rolling maul on.
Penalty advantage,
And then
I think
Mark scored a try. Yeah.
Exactly. So straight away, people are going to be asking questions of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is far more perplexing than the little.
I mean, they're setting up a rolling maul off what isn't a set piece rolling maul.
So you can challenge him in the air. You could, as if it's a line out. You can get up and try and knock the ball away. But if you impede the player in the air, well, then you're penalised.
But the two guys that are lifting him in broken play, surely they're impeding my ability to contest that
There's
ball.
no ruck formed. So what they're doing is not, you can't take them out. Now, in the old days, I know what would have happened.
Yeah, they just would have got blown
An
out.
All Black prop or someone like that would just come charging through, knock one of the lifters out of the way. They'd all fall in a heap, and they thought, we better not do that again.
Yeah.
But they can't be played because there's no maul.
And
or
they don't
ruck
have the ball.
Has been formed. They don't have the ball.
Yeah.
The only way I think that you could penalise it would be if those two lifters, as the jumper came back down, if they formed in front of the jumper, then that would be obstruction. And so that would be a penalty. But the great advantage, and this is where it's almost ingenious, really. It's just so out of the square. But it's not something that's been cooked up in the mind of Rassie Erasmus or Tony Brown or anyone like that. Apparently, an under-14 team at Paul Roos, which is a famous school in Stellenbosch. An under-14 team tried it, and someone saw it, passed it on, and they thought, well,
Right,
why not? We'll try it
test
with
match.
the Springboks.
Well, it's going to be talked about for the next week or two, isn't it?
The problem is, the advantage they get is that they come to ground, they've already got their players set up in a wedge behind them, so you've got a head start in terms of the driving maul.
Yeah.
What the opposition can do, well, I guess they can try and set up to stop it. Immediately that guy gets feet back on the ground, or I think they'd be able to sack it if it was done by one player immediately. But if you come in and deliberately collapse a maul, which is, I think, was what was the penalty advantage situation, then obviously it's advantage very much with.
Yeah, you might even lose a player.
Yeah, so this one, I think if they make a habit of it, I suspect they'll park it away now and pull it out in a big match in a key moment. Because if they were to make a habit, if they were to make a habit of it, you can imagine people will start jumping up and down, and World Rugby will have to make a ruling on it.
Good. I think they should have to make a ruling on it.
Well, yeah, I would probably imagine that the pressure will be on them to do that. But again, all I can say is, who thinks of doing those things? It's a bit of ingenious, really.
We then had this exchange on the breakdown show where Jeff Wilson certainly expects that World Rugby will ban the line-out move. An interesting exchange to watch.
Consistent and the number one team in the world, and it's South Africa. And they were very, very good again overnight against Italy, and they played a raft of different players. But I tell you what, they've certainly opened up some conversations about some of their tactics. Beaver, run me through this.
Yeah, look, saw this morning, and I was wondering what sort of state of mind I was in. I was wondering if I was seeing what I was seeing, where the restart, they deliberately gave away a scrum to get the game going, and this one, setting up a maul off a ruck from a line-out jumper. Technically not allowed, apparently, Goldie.
Well, no, at the moment. At the moment, it's a real grey area. I'm going to say that in terms of that. I reckon that'll last a week of being allowed.
They'll look at it. Both of them incidentally led to tries.
Yes.
Even that one that we just saw, the first one that collapsed, because it pulled all the defenders in, the halfback took a run, and I think centre went through and they scored, and then that one they scored too. So it works. So they'll be a bit annoyed if the World Rugby do rule it out.
Yeah, well, they picked it up off a first 15 in South Africa, Paul Roos High School. They picked it up for their second 15 or something.
How do you feel if you're Italy right now? Hey, they're the guinea pigs, man.
If you're a prop. Imagine if you're an Italian prop. Oh.
Anyway, so obviously there's been a lot of reaction, and we expect World Rugby to make some sort of ruling on it at some point. But yeah, Rassie was asked in the press conference. Now, nowadays in the press conferences, we aren't allowed to tape the entire press conference. We only allowed to tape the first 10 minutes. And in Nelspruit, Rassie was asked about the reaction to this, and people that say that these innovations aren't in the spirit of the game. And he was quite adamant, and it's quite an interesting reply that he gave here, and I think a lot of South Africans will probably agree with it. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. But let's listen to this. Is unfortunately just audio because we're not allowed to videotape this part of the press conference, but it's worth using the audio, and it's worth listening to Rassie's reply on this, because it's yeah, I think it shows the frustration that the Springboks have, that every time that they do a little bit of innovation, that the rest of the world seems to want to just throw rocks and throw stones at them the whole time. So here's Rassie talking about, he was asked what his reaction was to people who say that these things aren't in the spirit of the game.
Yeah, I'm so count my words now, because I don't ever want this to sound arrogant, but you know, rugby belongs to nobody. You know, it's not the English game, it's not England's game or France's game or New Zealand's game or Japan's game. You know, everybody plays differently. You know, and if there's rules and laws in place, and you know, Yannick de Beers kicked 5 drop goals in 1999, is that against the spirit of the game? The French ran the ball from everywhere. Is that against the spirit of the game? You know, if you put in the ball skew in a scrum and you take the contest away, is that against the spirit of the game? You know, so you know, if you want scrums in the game and you can get it, we don't put the ball in skew just to get the scrum over and done with. You know, we won the scrum, so you know, we could have kicked the ball out direct and have a scrum anyway, nobody would have known, but we don't want to hide that from the world. It's not what we want to do to the world, it's what we want to know for ourselves. What are we? It's what lifts us, what gets us up for the games. And you know, we don't hide away from that we did want the first scrum, and we would rather show it than kick the ball out on the full and everybody thinks it's an accident. You know, we want that scrum, and we want to show we want the scrum. You know, because previous week we couldn't contest in the scrum because the ball was just fed right to the 8th man. So we you know, even though it didn't work out for us, and there's many things that we do that does not work out for us, which we try, you know, but we take that on the chin. You know, there's line-out moves where, you know, we get outsmarted. New Zealand do fantastic line-out moves where they would have a jump at the back jump, and then they'll throw it here to the middle. In the old days for Tony Woodcock, and he would score a try, and that's magnificent. But then there was the early jump in the line-out. But you know, you don't moan about that. You say, oh, that's creative. That's well done. You know, the French kicks the ball long into your in-goal area now, and then you know you just kick the ball out. Is that against the spirit of the game? I don't know who's the people who decides what is against the spirit of the game and who owns the rights to that. You know, so whoever play what way, we're doing it for South Africa. We don't do it for the rest of the world to say if it's right or wrong. You know, if it's within the laws of the game. So it's a bit, I wouldn't say frustrating, but we must do it for us, you know, for our people, for South Africa and the way we play. If they want us to be the dumb, boring side to just bully all the day, you know, if they want that back, you know, I don't think our people want that back. So, yeah, we don't really, it's not against any laws or rules or protocols, you know, as long as we are happy in South Africa, you know, all good.
Well, that's Rassie's answer, and that's how they see it. And I certainly hope World Rugby doesn't stifle innovation. I heard Tupper Hennings talk about having to make sure that it can be played at all games, all levels of the game, from club to school to etc., and they've got to take that into account. But I don't think something like this you know, really comes into against the spirit of the game. I agree with a couple of things. I don't think we want to see a lot of it in the game, but I think it is something that when you do see innovation, it should be praised and not you know, sort of just slated the whole time. And that's what I feel a lot of the time. People in World Rugby just want to stop innovation than they rather than encouraging it. So yeah, that's my take. That's Rassie's take. Yeah, and let me know what you think in the comments. And do you think World Rugby's overboard? What do you think of what Rassie said? And yeah, as always, if you haven't already smashed that subscribe button, please do. Chat to you soon. Cheers.